Hey everybody, Melissa Sorrentino here. Today I want to talk about patience. If I have time, I will talk about that and how it pertains to scene work, but I just kind of want to talk about it in the terms of a particular analogy of something that occurred. It isn't just patience that I want to talk about. I want to talk about the difference between forcing and allowing, and the difference between inspiration and motivation, right? Okay, so I like dried fruit. I'm not a huge fruit fan, and I know that fruits are good for you and they have all kinds of good crap in them. So one of the ways that I kind of hack that system that I'm not really crazy about normal fruit is that I like a lot of dried fruit. And since we're in the lockdown going on here in the house, I actually kind of stocked up on some dried fruit, anticipating that maybe I'm not going to be able to get to the store anyway for some, force-fed fresh fruit that I often will keep around. So one of the items that I have around is pitted plums, dried plums, pitted. And then I also accidentally got some bags of prunes that are not pitted. They have the pits in them, and that's the pits, y'all. So I was eating some of these prunes with the pits in them, and I was struggling. I wanted to put some in a salad, and I just thought, oh, no big deal. I'll just get out like a really sharp knife and a cutting board, and I'll just kind of cut around the pit, or just kind of scrape off the fruit. Well, it's difficult. They're super sticky. It goops and then it gets stuck, and the pit is like the majority of the fruit, and then there's this barely dried, wrinkly layer of prune around this rather decent sized pit. So it's just kind of been a pain. So I've been wanting to just gravitate towards the plums that don't have the pits in them, but I don't even want to cut those up and put them in a salad because they're yummy. So I like to just pop them in my mouth and eat those. And I have apricots and whatever other things. But so these prunes, I have 3 or 4 bags of these stupid prunes with these stupid pits in them. And so if you're like me, you're somebody that's I don't want that around, so I'm actually eating that first just to get it out of the way. So I'm going into these prunes and trying to cut them up, and I made last night I was like, okay, I'm busy doing stuff, I just want some finger food, so I got some Triscuits and put them out, and I cut up some cheese and put them out, and I was like, a little prune topper would be delish on here. So I'm trying to cut these prunes, and finally I was like, what are you doing, Melissa? Is this just supposed to be a quick snack? So just deal with it, be like a grown-up, and I poured the prunes into a tiny little bowl, and I brought them upstairs to the project I was doing and had them on the side. So I'm doing this project with my hands, and I ate a cracker and I ate a piece of cheese, and then I was I popped one of these prunes in my mouth. And I started chewing it, and I was like, arr, arr, arr. I'm hitting the pit, and I'm like, God, this is probably not even good for your teeth. It's really rough. So I just kind of sucked on it for a little while. I just kind of let it be in my mouth for a little while. And the warmth from the inside of my mouth, along with the moisture, basically what happened is this prune got delicious. It was freaking yum. So I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? Struggling, trying to cut these things and put them in various things when they are delicious. And then it gets to a point where you can just spit the dang pit right out. And I'm like, I've seen people do that, but I didn't have the patience, nor did I have the knowledge. So I made a discovery that prunes with pits in them are totally delicious. I don't have to go out of my way to not purchase them, but what is the best way for me to eat them is to just stick them in my mouth, give them a little chew just to soften them up, and then just patiently wait. And it's not just being patient. You're not waiting through this horrible experience trying to swallow the thing or spit the pit out. You're actually enjoying a delicious, sweet, dried fruit in your mouth and savoring it. And I'm like, man, these are good. So I'm, sucking on the thing, and then just nice and clean, the pit comes out. and I just, toss it. So that was a discovery, and I just today was doing some dishes and I was like, whoa, that's very much like improv. If you have something that you think is like the only way to do it, and the more you get stiff and like stoic and just like reticent that that's the way it's done. I learned this in basic. I learned this in improv too. I've been doing it this way for 6 years and it always works for me. Well, you know what? If you just kind of accept it the way it is, accept that your scene partner that maybe you've never worked with is from a different school or is brand new or has been doing it for 20 years and they're from a different era of improv than you are, or whatever the case may be. When we accept what we're given as it is, and then just enjoy it, savor it, co-experience with it, that's when our scene work kind of blossoms and turns into something. Couple of points I want to make before I close out here. This is a big difference between forcing and allowing. When you force something, and this goes right into life, y'all. When you're forcing, you're trying to force a dating situation into turning this person into like the love of your life because that's what you want. Or you're forcing, anything you're doing. You're trying to force your art. You're trying to force your painting. You're trying to force your writing. You're trying to force your relationships. You're trying to force your job hunt or your everyday job, trying to get to promotion or a project done. Anything you're trying to force, if you are just all about, I already know how to do this, I'm going to do it the way that I already planned, that may actually work out. You may be able to motivate yourself to do what you wanted to do for that task and to achieve that task. But if instead of doing that, you embrace the task, you give it some softness, you allow it, you provide some patience, you allow yourself to experience the experience, not just forcing yourself upon the experience. Instead of getting what you wanted, you will end up with more than you wanted. You might even end up with a new system about a new way to even approach that. And then the third time you might approach it yet even more openly. And even if you just made that discovery, you might find out that, oh my gosh, there was more to discover. There was more to discover. There was more to discover until everything's just much more free flowing and open. And if you're patient, you can allow for inspiration to come. Instead of motivating your way through, you can allow. And then you're going to end up with more than you ever thought. And that goes in life, that goes in love, that goes in art, that goes in getting to know yourself. Okay, you guys, lockdown kind of sucks, but I'm having a pretty okay time because luckily I'm already a homebody. So God bless you guys. Stay safe. Bye.